Ulterion managed to make his way through the swamp of the Scaly. He'd encountered a band of lizard folk. He managed to seduce their leader, who he was sure was a woman, at least 90% sure, and after a night of passion and crying, Ulterion made his way to the country of Brogue. Ulterion found himself in the town of Blondeclan. Ulterion looked around to find several of the Minotaur denizens glaring at him. You see, the Minotaurs of Brogue were fairly isolationist, only dealing with lesser races during trade agreements. Ulterion knew he was in dangerous territory. Ulterion entered the tavern, the Propped Hoof. He looked around to find that the patrons didn't necessarily mind his presence, but they were keeping an eye on him. Ulterion walked up to the bar where the bartender, a Minotaur of brown fur, was cleaning a glass. Ulterion gave the bartender a friendly smile.
Good day, sir.
However, the bartender wasn't having any of it, as he merely glared at the human and snorted. Ulterion nodded.
Right then. Could I bother you for a drink?
The bartender continued to glare at Ulterion. Ulterion continued to smile, although it was a bit strained now.
Please.
The Minotaur snorted and proceeded to go into the back.
I hope he comes back.
As Ulterion waited for his drink, which he was sure wasn't coming, he looked through the list.
Let's see. What ingredients do I need here?
Ulterion scanned through his list and came to the item he needed. In horror,
Minotaur horn.
Ulterion realized he'd spoken loudly. He looked around, but found no Minotaurs looking at him. He breathed and sighed of relief. But he was horrified again as he reread the item.
Minotaur horn? How am I?
As Ulterion spoke, he flailed his hands and ended up smacking a beer stein out of the bartender's hand. The world seemed to slow down as the stein flew through the air, spilling its contents. All over the bartender. The bartender stared at the stain on his shirt in shock, while Ulterion stared at him in fear.
Soap and water will get that out. I'm sure of it.
The bartender sneered at Ulterion. The bartender drags Ulterion through the town. Ulterion did his best to negotiate with the angry Minotaur.
Wait. I can get you a new shirt. Better shirt. Please don't kill me.
The bartender scoffed as he continued to drag Ulterion.
I ain't no savage. I be bringing you to justice.
But it was an accident.
I didn't need your human lies. I knew you were trouble. The tribunal will deal with you.
The tribunal?
The bartender threw Ulterion to the floor. Ulterion looked around at the beautiful courthouse. Stone Minotaurs held the building on their backs, while tapestries showed the derring-do of Minotaur heroes. Sitting behind a long table were 3 elder Minotaurs. Sat behind it in black robes. The middle elder Minotaur cleared his throat.
What are ye bringing before us, laddie?
The bartender pointed an angry finger at Ulterion.
This disgusting human sprayed and wasted beer on me.
Ulterion shrugged.
It was an accident.
Another elder Minotaur hit their gavel on the table.
Silence, human!
Ulterion quieted immediately. The last elder Minotaur put up a hand to his pierce.
No, let's calm ourselves down. We have to be fair.
Another elder Minotaur scoffed.
Are you kidding? It's a human! That don't mean he's unworthy of the fair trial.
The middle elder Minotaur hit his gavel on the table. The middle elder Minotaur addressed the bartender and Ulterion.
We'll settle this through trial by combat.
Ulterion was terrified by the suggestion as he looked at the bartender who was much bigger than he was.
Could we just have a debate?
Ulterion and the bartender are led to a dock by Minotaur guards. They're followed by the Minotaur elders. Ulterion was scared and confused, but mostly scared. Ulterion and the bartender have found themselves at the end of the dock. The first elder Minotaur shouted.
The battle shall take place here. And the weapons will be...
Ulterion and the bartender are given fishing poles. Ulterion looked at his weapon in confusion.
Huh?
The first elder Minotaur raised his hand into the air as he shouted.
Let the battle begin.
The bartender raised his pole into the air. Ulterion looked up in fright. But Ulterion's fears went away as the bartender's hook hits the water.
That doesn't sound so bad.
If ye lose, ye will be the bartender's servant.
Ulterion cringed.
I better get started.
Ulterion cast his line into the water. Ulterion and the bartender fished, and fished, and fished. Ulterion looked to his opponent with a smirk.
Getting tired?
The bartender glared at Ulterion. Ulterion gulped in fear and went back to concentrating on fishing. The combatants continued to fish and fish and fish without either catching a fish. The first elder Minotaur sighed.
Should have really chosen some other challenge.
Ulterion and the bartender continued to fish and fish. You know what, you get it. Ulterion yawned. He looked over at his opponent who was fast asleep. Ulterion turned his attention to the elder Minotaur who was also asleep.
Here's my chance to escape.
Ulterion tried to set his fishing pole down, but found something tugging at the line. He growled in frustration.
I can't believe I caught something.
Ulterion gasped in shock and realization.
Oh my god, I caught something.
Ulterion's shouts awoke everybody in attendance.
What? How?
Ulterion pulled his pole and pulled out a guppy. Ulterion picked up the fish and looked at the Minotaurs in excitement.
I caught a fish.
The Minotaurs glared at Ulterion. He shrugged.
What?
The elder Minotaur sighed and shrugged.
Alright, you win.
The bartender was outraged.
What?
The elder Minotaur glared at the bartender.
Do you really want to keep fishing?
The bartender stared at the elder Minotaur for a moment. He turned his attention to Ulterion.
I forgive you.
Ulterion smiled. The bartender glared at Ulterion.
What? Never come to my tavern again.
Ulterion shrugged.
Fair enough.
Ulterion walked the docks. He was whistling a happy tune. When the ruby on his bracer glowed and a familiar voice came out of it.
Hey there, boy. How you doing there, then? What?
Ulterion shrugged still in his good mood.
I'm trying to find a boat out of here.
So you found a Minotaur under them what?
Ulterion smiled.
I...
Ulterion's smile faded.
Damn it!
Ulterion ran off. Ulterion ran down the dock. He stopped when he saw an old Minotaur fisherman carrying a net full of fish. Ulterion smiled. Maybe this older Minotaur would be nice. It was a long shot, but worth it. Ulterion shouted to the old Fisherminotaur.
Sir?
Ulterion ran up to the old Fisherminotaur, seeing as he wasn't being heard.
Sir? Sir?
Ulterion thought that due to this man's advanced age, perhaps his hearing wasn't as good. He had to get his attention some other way. He reached for the old Fisherminotaur's net.
Sir,
Ulterion did not expect the old Fisherminotaur's net to be so old and torn up. So when his hand grabbed the net began to rip. The old Fisherminotaur looked over his shoulder as his load grew lighter.
What the?
The old Fisherminotaur saw all of his fish dropping onto the dock and falling into the water.
My fish!
Sadly, the old Fisherminotaur's reflexes weren't what they used to be as he watched all of his fish return to the water. The old Fisherminotaur glared furiously at Ulterion.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Ulterion laughed nervously as he shrugged.
maybe we could talk later.
Ulterion sighed as he found himself before the Minotaur elders again. The Minotaur elders glared at Ulterion.
What are you doing back here?
Ulterion tried to explain himself.
He tried to steal me fish, the bastard!
No, I was...
The first elder Minotaur held up his hand.
Silence. We don't interrupt our elders.
But he...
The elder Minotaurs glared intensely at Ulterion, which shut him up. The elder Minotaurs turned their attention back to the old Fisherminotaur.
What is your grievance, sir?
The old Fisherminotaur pointed angrily at Ulterion.
This human bastard ripped me net and caused me to spill all me fish. An entire day wasted.
I will compensate you, sir, if you would...
The elder Minotaur stood up.
Silence!
Ulterion sneered.
We shall solve this with a trial by combat.
Ulterion gasped in horror.
No. Please, no more fishing.
The elder Minotaurs shook their heads violently.
No.
No.
Ulterion breathed a sigh of relief. Ulterion's relief quickly became worry.
Wait, what's the challenge?
Ulterion and the old Fisherminotaur are brought to a forest clearing. The elder Minotaur addresses the combatants with his arms behind his back.
Let the battle begin. The weapon of choice is...
The elder Minotaur pulled out 2 axes from behind their back.
Axes.
The elder Minotaur throws one of the axes. Ulterion looked scared as the axe flew through the air. Ulterion breathed a sigh of relief as the axe hit a log.
For wood cutting.
Ulterion and the old Fisherminotaur held their axes and stood before their own respective stumps, with logs on top of them. The elder Minotaur held their hand in the air.
Ready?
The old Fisherminotaur gripped his axe tighter. He glared at Ulterion with hate.
I'm gonna destroy you! Sit.
Ulterion gripped his axe tighter, but more out of fear. He tried to intimidate his opponent back.
Yeah, well, you're wrong.
And failed miserably. The elder Minotaur brought their hand down.
Oh!
Ulterion raised his axe over his head and gave a battle cry.
Ah!
He brought the axe down. It bit into the log. Just not very far.
This is in the bag.
The old Fisherminotaur lifted his axe over his head and with a battle cry,
Hey!
brought the axe down and hit the log. Just as impressively as Ulterion had. He looked around nervously.
Guess I lost some strength this past few years.
The combatants continued to chop for hours. The same logs.
We really need to work on these trails.
The two combatants continued to chop their logs. Still cutting the same logs, well, Ulterion found he was cutting alone. He looked up to find the old Fisherminotaur was asleep. Ulterion shook his head in disbelief as he continued to chop.
I've had really weird luck today.
Suddenly, Ulterion's log finally split in half. The elder Minotaur jumped up in excitement to see that the trial was finally over.
The human wins.
The elder Minotaur's excitement quickly faded as he realized what they were cheering.
Again.
The elder Minotaur's shouts awoke the old Fisherminotaur.
What?
The old Fisherminotaur watched as Ulterion cheered his victory.
Woohoo!
The old Fisherminotaur waved off Ulterion
To hell with you!
and stormed off. Ulterion was walking on the dock again, but was interrupted again by Bonefoot's voice.
Oh boy.
Ulterion looked down at his bracelet curiously.
What?
Realization dawned on him.
Oh, damn it.
Ulterion ran off to actually finish his mission.
Damn it, 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 damn it.
Ulterion ran around the Minotaur town looking for a beatable Minotaur until he saw her. Bovary Milkin was the fairest in Blonderclan, at least by Minotaur standards. Her hair and fur were golden blonde, and her eyes were blue as the sea. She came from a long line of warriors. In fact, both her parents were warriors. They had trained her very well, which came in handy against her aggressive suitors. She was considered an odd girl by everyone. There were no Minotaur boys that she liked. For whatever reason, Minotaurs did nothing for her. There were no romantic feelings, no urges, nothing for her bovine brethren. It worried her parents, it worried her. These thoughts went through her mind as she chewed on a massive turkey leg. Her jaw dropped, and some turkey fell out as she saw him coming towards her. Ulterion walked towards the Minotaur woman with a big smile on his face. He was sure his plan would work. Bovary couldn't believe such a handsome creature was walking towards her. She couldn't believe this human was about to come up and talk to her. She couldn't believe that he had smacked her turkey leg out of her hand. She watched it fall on the ground. Bovary looked at her human suitor with confusion and rage.
Are you daft? Why would you do such a thing?
Ulterion smirked.
What are you gonna do about it? Take me to the elders?
Bovary snorted in rage at the human.
That's exactly what I'll do.
Alright then. Let's go.
The two of them stormed off. Bovary was enraged as she followed the human to the courthouse, angered and a bit turned on, surprisingly. The elder Minotaurs were not happy to see the human again.
What is it now?
Bovary addressed the elders as she gestured towards Ulterion.
This wee daft bastard knocked food out my hand.
The elder Minotaurs gave Ulterion curious glances.
Why? What's wrong with you?
Can't we get rid here?
Ulterion shrugged.
Does it really matter? Let's just do the trial.
The elder Minotaurs talked amongst each other. The elder Minotaurs nodded and gave Ulterion malicious smiles.
All right. We have a trial for you.
Ulterion's confidence began to wane as he saw the smiles of the elder Minotaurs.
Should be easy enough. What's the trial?
Hand-to-hand combat!
Ulterion laughed nervously.
like arm wrestling?
The elder Minotaur just stared and snickered at Ulterion. Ulterion looked at Bovary in fear.
They mean arm wrestling, right?
Bovary merely snickered as well. Ulterion was terrified.
What have I done?
Ulterion and Bovary found themselves facing off against each other in a makeshift ring. A few boxes and ropes were set up to create a perimeter for the two combatants to stay within, much to Ulterion's chagrin. They circled each other. Bovary glared at Ulterion with fury.
You're going to pay for what you did.
Ulterion stared back at Bovary with the same intensity, although his feelings were fear instead of rage.
Pay? You want pay? I'll give you what you...
Bovary grabbed Ulterion's throat.
Your gobbin fight.
Bovary delivered a punch to Ulterion's face, sending him to the ground. Ulterion laid on the ground, reeling from the blow.
I think this has all been a horrible misunderstanding.
Bovary picked Ulterion up off the ground. She brought him inches from her face.
You smacked a turkey leg out my hand. What's to misunderstand?
Ulterion stared at the female Minotaur and sputtered.
Well?
I'm thinking.
Bovary growled in frustration as she tossed Ulterion into a pile of boxes.
You had enough?
Ulterion nodded furiously.
Yes. Yes, I have.
Bovary lifted Ulterion up again.
Well, I haven't.
Bovary threw Ulterion into another pile of boxes. Ulterion had to think fast before this crazy cowwoman killed him. He thought of doing something crazy. He was going to tell her the truth. Bovary charged towards Ulterion. Ulterion put his hand up and shouted.
I did it because I needed your horns.
Bovary stopped in her tracks and practically gave Ulterion a look of confusion and disgust.
What?
Ulterion picked himself up and continued to address his opponent.
I'm sorry for the pretense. I just needed access to Minotaur horns.
Bovary shook her head in confusion.
What?
The question caught Ulterion by surprise, although it made sense. But Ulterion thought about how ridiculous his situation was and decided that the truth wasn't the best policy, so he shouted.
I love Minotaur women.
Bovary was taken aback by this.
What?
Ulterion had surprised himself.
What?
Explain yourself, you crazy bastard.
Ulterion shrugged. He had to go with it now.
Yes, it's true. When I saw you, I thought, what a vision of loveliness. What a beauty to behold. What a...
Bovary sneered at Ulterion.
Load of malarkey.
No, really. I smacked the turkey leg out of your hand because I didn't know how to talk to you.
Bovary stared at Ulterion curiously and hopeful.
Really?
Ulterion nodded as he gave Bovary the soft eyes, this classic worked on the ladyfolk. It made him seem more sensitive.
Of course.
Bovary and Ulterion stared at each other for a long time. They forgot that the elder Minotaurs were watching. Bovary looked towards the elder Minotaurs and shook her head. The elder Minotaurs were very disappointed. Ulterion walked on the dock looking for a boat. Ulterion's braces ruby glowed as a familiar voice came out of it. Ulterion looked down at the braces. He was about to ask what the wizard wanted, but realization came to him.
Damn it.
Ulterion ran back into the town. Bovary was in her bedroom, brushing her fur in her evening gown, getting ready for bed. Really the only feminine thing she did, when she heard a knock at her door.
Who could that be?
Bovary opened the door to find Ulterion standing there with a nervous smile on his face. Bovary glared at the human.
And I thought you were running out of your deal.
What? Me? No, never.
Bovary sneered.
I'm sure.
So, about the horn.
Bovary had a sly smile on her face.
You can have the horn.
Ulterion gasped in excitement.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ulterion held out a hand.
I can't believe.
Bovary shook her head.
Oh no, I'm not giving it to you.
Ulterion was confused.
But you said.
Bovary opened her door further, revealing herself in her bedroom, which didn't hide much.
You need to come in here and take it.
Ulterion was nervous. He knew what he had to do, but he didn't really want to do it.